Martin, thank you very much for coming on the show, man. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, buddy.
Awesome to be here, guys.
It's very very cool, and kind of chatting previously. I haven't really had the opportunity to speak to someone like yourself who is doing what it's beyond insanity, really, when you think about it. The fucking numbers that you're pulling from the disabled athlete side of things, and I'm so excited to get into your mindset, how you got involved with this, what this really means to you, man. Because with the numbers that you're pulling and the kind of ground that you're breaking, it's actually really interesting to see someone in this scene help grow and expand the scene to the extent that you have done. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that is 100% praise to you, mate, because I think, and I've heard you speak about it a couple of times before, from the disabled side of things, it's been very tough to get the sponsorship, to get the money, to get the growth, to get the scale up. Let's face it, strongman still isn't incredibly huge. It's still quite niche. Obviously, the pay packets for the able-bodied athletes is getting much bigger, but still, the females were behind there, and so were you guys. And it's really nice to see now that actually, finally, after this decent amount of time, there's some fucking money going into it, which is absolutely brilliant to see. So I want you to kind of touch upon that, mate. How have you found the whole scaling process? Obviously, starting at the very beginning, not being able to access the kit that you're able to get a hold of every single day now, the kind of the turmoil you've had to go through to actually get around to be able to train everything you need to do to get to the standard that you're in now. You're actually being able to bring in some money from some of these events and actually start to hopefully make a decent living off of the sport.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I think disabled sport across the board is very underpaid and underfunded. And then, when I got into strongman, it was still very much a very new sport, the disabled side of it. I think it had only gone for 7 years or something before me, but it's been on a much lower scale, and it was just getting scaled up when I got in there. And my plan for the last 3 years is to raise the profile of the sport, to get it up, for people to open their eyes and see, these guys can just lift as just as much as the able-bodied. Yeah, they have to do it in a different way, so it's not conventionally the same as what they do. But we're still busting our guts lifting big weights as well. And I think that's what I've been working towards. We've got a fantastic group of people in the sport now, and we're all working together to try and get a bit more exposure, to get sponsors in and stuff like that, just to make it, get it up onto this stage where it deserves to be.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess when you're in the position that you're in, where you are in that top end, you're probably going to find that you're going to be surrounded with, you could probably say like there's similar sort of competitors at each event. There aren't tons of guys that are just fucking breaking through the ranks, because again, there isn't that awareness. You're holding kind of top 5, top 10 spots quite regularly, right? So I think for you guys as well, it's nice because, again, like, you look on the able-bodied side of things, and yeah, there is a lot of camaraderie there. But for what you guys are having to do now is that you guys are actually really trying to break these boundaries now, and as a collective group of individuals, you're actually trying to do something much larger than just getting a first place or whatever. As a group, you guys are actually trying to raise the awareness of the sport. Do you find that's kind of something that's actually, as much as you're in a competition together, has brought you guys even closer together?
If I've got to be completely honest, I think disabled sport in general is a closer knit community. In able-bodied sports, you get quite a lot of rivalries, and don't get me wrong, we do get that on the disabled side, but it doesn't seem to be as often. And when I go into a competition, I don't want to go and deadlift and then the next person not be able to deadlift, a quarter of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm there cheering him on because I'm pushing him as well, and he's pushing me at the same time. So I think we always have meals together before comps, after comps, and we're a lot more close knitted than say the able-bodied lot are. We spend a lot more time together. Just going into a competition for a disabled guy can be a lot different for the able-bodied lot. The able-bodied lot know what they're doing. So if we get an event put forward to us, we might have 2 people in our category that, because of their disability, won't be able to do that event at all. So then we have to go back to the drawing board and go, right, this is, how can we make this the fairest so everybody has the opportunity to compete? So, yeah, we do work a lot closer together. So I think that's what ties us.
That's quite amazing. That's quite amazing just in terms of that, the extra legs of organisation that you've got to go through there to actually get this thing up on its feet and moving is quite incredible. So it's interesting you say that, and it's going to be one of the points that I bring up is that, from people that I've spoken to before and people that I haven't spoken to on the podcast, that won't be mentioning their names, that have said that, especially some of these higher end competition, and it's been mentioned before, like World's Strongest Man previously has shown that the organisation of these events has been pretty dreadful in terms of like not letting athletes know weights, not letting them know what the actual fucking events are going to be like a week before the competition. Do you feel that you guys, obviously where you have this back and forth, is that you have this almost democratic relationship with the events and the organisation side of things, rather than that hierarchy of like World's Strongest Man where it's like, okay, we're going to let them get on with it, whereas you guys are like, well, we can't do that because we need this team input to get this thing moving faster?
Yeah, it isn't such a straightforward thing like the able-bodied. They can have the manager of World's Strongest Man say, this is the events, like it along, that's what you're doing. Obviously, sometimes that won't fit into the disabled side because we don't want to exclude anyone from the competition just because of their disability. We would much rather find a different path to go down so we could all compete at the same sort of level.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, I think, it's important. It's important to get new athletes in. If you're seen to be going to events and people are going up and not doing one rep because they can't do it, no one's going to look at that and go, you know what, I quite fancy giving that a go. They're going to think, this don't look good at all. Like that bloke's being left out.
Yeah.
We are quite lucky as well that our founder, our two main founders, Arne and Magnus Magnusson. So obviously Magnus knows what he's doing. Arne's been in strongman for a long time as well. He also knows what he's doing. So what would normally happen is they'd come to us with events to tell us what they're proposing. If that all goes well and works, we go, and then we'll go into discussing the weights. Obviously, I'm always trying to push the weight. I'm probably one of the few going, let's go heavier, let's go heavier.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want to go too heavy that no one can't do the exercise. So
the question is, has any of the party managed to convince them to not put a max reps deadlift in there for you to win? We've actually apparently we've got a new German guy that's coming into the sport that's quite tasty in the seated deadlift as well. So ooh,
bit of competition on the horizon, which
well,
I'm looking forward to.
I was listening to Mark Bell's podcast with you on not too long ago, and I remember you guys were discussing, and it was something like, obviously the jumps are so crazy, but like you're like 60, 70, 80 kilos ahead of some of these guys on these events, and it's like, dude, between first and second, that's a big fucking jump.
So to be honest, I don't really know why I'm so good at deadlift. I kind of just found it, and it was, my niche. That was the thing that I was naturally good at. So I still really haven't found my peak yet. Even when I did the 550 at the start of the year, as soon as I put that bar down, I went, shit, I could have done more. Because I didn't realise, obviously the crowd gives you adrenaline and stuff, but I just didn't quite realise just how much of a push that was.
Right.
And went up, I was like, I could have done more.
Yeah.
And before my attempt, one of the guys backstage was saying, "Look, do you want to go just do a little bit less to make sure you've got the world record?" And I was like, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm not half-hearted. If I said I'm doing something, I'm doing it."
Yeah, but how stupid must he have looked when he just looks across the stage and you just literally just yank it off the floor and everyone's like,
"Yeah."
Oh my god.
It was in the best. He meant the best saying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not me.
And a good thing too. Like I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like I don't feel like you can teach that kind of behavior. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think, and again, the more people that I've spoken to, especially the top end athletes like yourself, is that the more you kind of get into the kind of head side of things, it's like, yeah, everyone kind of has to have that where they can just flick that switch and it's like, right, go time, baby, here it is. It's like do or die. Like, it's either coming off the floor or like I'm just crushing my spine into powder. Like,
yeah. Well, that's pretty much, that's pretty much what I do. I'm fully aware at some point I'll hit that peak and my body will say no, and then at that point, that's when I'll go, okay, I've done what I can do. So yeah, hopefully we're still going to see some.
Are you reaching out with anyone else that's kind of, because the numbers that you're pulling are superhuman. They're fucking crazy. They are insane. Like I don't care what anyone says. They are incredible numbers, and just being under that load creates a lot of stress and a lot of turmoil for your body. And I know you've spoken about it before, kind of, especially with like the first time with the 500 and the couple lifts after that, where it really is taking so much out of your body. Like your vision's getting fucked up, you're getting really nauseous, it's getting weird, it's getting super trippy, like full on LSD time. Like that in itself is really, really tough to handle, but to keep on going back and doing that over and over again, are you reaching out? Are you working with anyone that's kind of been in this same sort of boat where they've been under this load, like Eddie has done and has kind of talked about it previously, and been like, this is kind of how the best way I've found to handle all of this and the compression and the stress and the blood pressure and all that shit? Yeah,
so Eddie was out at the Arnold's at the start of the year. He actually judged my 550. Yeah. We've spoke a few times as well, and he's pointed out a few things. Big Lars also pointed out a few things. I spoke to him quite a bit. But one of the issues I have in the way I do the deadlift is I am the authority on it at the moment, because there's nobody near me officially to say otherwise. I've never seen anybody come away with the bloodshot eyes or fuzzy or any of that, because they're just not at that level. So we've got to take it as it comes, really, and deal with it at a time. It is it's a bit of a weird feeling after you've lifted and your vision's blurry and stuff, but you know what, it almost feels like you're paying for what you've done, so it's almost quite a nice feeling. I know it sounds completely messed up.
It's like a give and take.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to expect your body to kick back if you're doing crazy things like that. Recovery afterwards is really important. So it's about getting your calories on, going to your chiropractors, get your massage, all this sort of stuff, lots of rest, and yeah, it's just about managing it, really.
And now it's interesting because you've been in the sport now, what, coming up 6 years?
No, less than that.
Five, yeah, coming up 5.
Yeah,
so like in the grand scheme of things for a sport, like not been in it a crazy amount of time, like you've done, I'll say again, insane superhuman shit in a very short space of time, which is very, very crazy. But obviously, like, there's a lot of longevity here. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to, you can potentially carry this on. We look at some of the guys now, especially with the research that's being done and the supplements that are on the market and whatever, that are being able to lift a lot longer into their lifetime, a lot longer than we thought we were going to be able to at this stage. Yeah, like how are you pacing yourself? Because it's very, very hard. You obviously got this like, right, we can just smack the fucking backside out of it and we can get some crazy, ridiculous things done in this space of time, or we can go at like 90%, 85% and maybe squeeze 5 more years out, or etc, etc. How are you going into this? Is it like a just till the wheels come off kind of shit, or what?
Pretty much. I've pretty much said, once I stop enjoying it, or once my body says you've done too much, that's when I walk away. I enjoy what I'm doing. I was lucky that coming into the sport, before that I was doing powerlifting and stuff, so I already had the base strength there. Yeah. It was more just taking on the technical side and stuff. But yeah, soon if I get injured to a crazy level, then I'll say enough is enough. But I really want to set some world records that will be my legacies that will last after I've stopped. You know, I don't want a world record which in 2 weeks someone's going to beat. So yeah, you know, I'm just going to keep pushing my body and find out what the limits are, because I think there's still quite a bit more in me that can come out.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting that you bring that up. Obviously, like, things have grown quite exponentially, and especially when you look at the top end, especially with the able-bodied guys, which is the thing I found really, really interesting, is that, you know, guys, especially up to like 500 or getting up to like the high 400s, just climbing up like 10 kilos in a year is like a fucking good year.
Yeah.
So to start coming in and doing the kind of things that you're doing, where we're taking records up and moving numbers up by like 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 kilos, 45 kilos, that's unheard of, dude. Like, do you feel like there's more of that exponential growth, or do you feel like you're at that, I don't want to call it plateau, but you've started to slow down that acceleration line and you're starting to kind of cruise out a little bit more?
I think there's still another big jump in me, which we'll find
I've
out.
heard you talk about the 600. I've heard you talk about the 600, and I wanted to talk about it, but
I think that jumps in me. I've got to get back up to fitness. So obviously over lockdown, my gyms were closed. I couldn't get to a gym, so I lost quite a bit of muscle and a bit of size. But got my own gym in the garden now. It's all kitted out with my sponsors' stuff. So I've got somewhere to train, really focus. I've got enough weight in there to train deadlift, which was another problem, finding gyms that had the amount of plates I need to train.
Well, the amount of plates that you need to train, and actually someone else be able to load a fucking barbell somewhere in the gym. Like, there's just everyone with empty barbells just looking at you, repping out like, motherfucker.
So it was crazy. So I used to go to a military gym because I'm ex-military. And it's on the first floor. So they're only allowed a certain amount of plates. So when I was benching, on bench day, on Monday, nobody else in the gym could use any other plate when I was benching because I had all the plates on. And it was crazy. Like, I'm trying to get these sets done as fast as I can because I feel jacked, because everyone's like, where's the plates?
Don't worry, guys. I got like 5 more sets. It's okay. That is absolutely absurd. So it's I think it's interesting. I've spoken to a couple of people kind of throughout the whole COVID thing and lockdown, and people have kind of come at it from different angles, and some have said, you know, it's actually been kind of a bit of a blessing in disguise for their body to take a little bit of a rest and actually recover a little bit more. Some people have obviously gone down the other road, which, you know, you have as well, where it's like, okay, I can't get to a gym, so we'll bring the fucking gym to home, and have gone about it that way. So obviously the first half of lockdown, you didn't have any of your gym stuff, did you? This has been quite a recent development.
Yeah. So it was it weren't the best, really. So we got back from the States in March after winning the Arnolds, and I was like, right, I'm going to have a couple of weeks off now, which I normally do after a big comp. Well, that couple of weeks ended and lockdown kicked in, so it went on for months and months. And it was nice. It was nice to have a bit of time off, to spend a bit of time with the family, just to get away from that side of things, but not the amount of time that I have spent off, far too long. Then we've had issues getting gardeners in, getting the kit sent over from Germany. All this has been a challenge through lockdown. So, but yeah, finally, it's been up for about a month. Well, it's been ready for about a month now. So yeah, training's back on, definitely.
So, and it's obviously interesting when you've been in that, environment before, where you are surrounded by a lot of people, and again, especially being like ex-military and stuff, you're used to being in those large groups, doing those workouts together and being in the gym in that environment. Then going from that to being like, okay, right, so now I've got to fucking get myself to the end of the garden, I've got to get in there, I've got to get motivated, and I've got to lift all that shit that I'd usually do with all of my mates about and chatting shit and having a good time and doing whatever. How have you found that change of environment for you mentally?
So since getting into strongman, I've actually done a lot of the training on my because I train middle of the day when the gym's nice and quiet.
Yeah.
So solid. I've actually found I can go harder and heavier on my own because I push myself more. Whereas if you're training with someone, you're waiting for a bench or changing plates up and down, and then before you know it, you've been in there 5 hours and you're going to got half your workout done. So that side of things hasn't really affected me. Obviously, when I go heavy, I normally need someone there spotting me. So that's an issue. But I can always tailor that around when people are around to help. In the evening, say, then I can have someone come in and spot me. If I just want to go heavy for a few sessions. But in the daytime, I'm quite happy down there on my own, blasting my music out, and just getting it done, getting the work in. Yeah,
just having a good time. So, are you someone, obviously, like, when you can't train every single day because you're, because of lockdown and whatever, then when you're given that opportunity, are you finding now that you're just like wanting to train all the time? Are you training like 6-7 days a week? Are you trying to be smart with it again? Are you starting to build up your program? What are you doing with your training now?
Yeah, so, well, let's go back about 2 months ago. I had some back surgery done.
Yeah.
So I knew coming back into training wasn't going to be easy. Like, it wasn't going to be easy without the surgery because of the amount of time I had off, let alone with the surgery. So, I basically sat myself down. I looked at it in a more responsible way, and I said, look, you've got to do this clever, else you're just going to mess yourself up. And I've done it before. I've rushed back from an injury where I've gone, the doctor doesn't know anything. I know better than me, and it's my body, and I've gone in there and I've made the injury worse. So obviously I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've basically just gone quite light weights, shorten the sessions down, not so many sessions a week. I'm doing like 4 or 5 sessions a week, and we're not big long sessions at the moment, but we're at the stage now where we're starting to add a little bit of weight and add a little bit more time. So we're building them up slowly, and yeah.
And just conditioning your body now. Obviously, it wasn't fusing of the nerve endings. It was like you basically had like your nerve endings fried off, didn't you?
Yeah, basically, yeah. We just burn the nerve endings off. It's not a major operation.
Dude, I think with your spine's kind of important. You know what I mean? Like, in context, brother. Fucking hell.
You're talking to me. I've had hundreds of operations. So.
You're like, dude, surgery on your spine. It's no big deal. It's just like, it is. Jesus. So it was about this time last year you did your tricep as well?
Tricep. Where did I do my tricep?
Because it wasn't crazy long ago, was it? It was in like the last.
My tricep at the gym. It's called at the gym.
Yeah.
Raw ATX Raw competition. I was doing a skull crusher, and it just went. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that.
That was that healed really fast. I wasn't expecting it to, but it went purple. It looked bad.
Yeah, I remember seeing the photo on your Instagram.
Yeah. But within the space of 2 weeks, I was training again. I wasn't loading up as much, but I couldn't believe it how fast it healed. Like, I tore my pec last year, at the start of the year in Canada, doing a deadlift. Now you see that took a long time to heal, and that wasn't a very big tear either. That was only a little tear, but it took so long to heal. And even now, at the end of a chest session, I can feel it pinching still.
You're aware of it, yeah.
But yeah, the tricep, it's brilliant for me because I can put confidence back into it, and that's 99% of the game, having confidence in your muscles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was so surprised when that came back quick.
Yeah, that I mean, and again, it's that whole thing of having to take usually that step back, regress in your training, start to build it back up again, and it's that whole thing where you're like you hit peak for a few weeks, and then it's like right back down to the beginning again. And that is really, I think it's actually quite easy to get into that routine, especially you see it with a lot of the stronger guys now, and you probably see it from your side of things quite a lot too. It's like, okay, when is enough to say, right, motherfucker, take a step back, let's just look at everything, get this shit straight, and then we'll go forward.
Yeah, it's such a hard subject to approach yourself with, because obviously you don't want to step back. That's the last thing you want to do as a strongman. You want to keep pushing, grin and bear it. But then at some point, intelligently, you have to make that decision and go, you know what? If I carry on like this, I'm going to be really screwed. So time to wind it down, do a bit, and build it up again.
So when are you expecting for that to happen for you? Because I don't think it ever is it?
Now, so
okay. I love that. You're like, yeah, just come back from spinal surgery, this surgery, that surgery. Yeah, I'll pull 600. Yeah, fuck it, why not? Let's go. I like that.
Yeah, why not, eh?
Yeah, exactly. You got one life. You got to do something crazy with it, right?
Exactly. I've always said that I'm not one of these people in the sport just to be a part of the sport. I'm there to challenge. I'm there to push boundaries. I'm there to win events, and that's gone throughout all of my sports that I've done. I did a lot of sports building up to strongman. Powerlifting, I set Invictus Games records in the powerlifting. I was 3-time British indoor rowing champ. I was a disabled water skiing instructor. All of those things, I don't just want to be in them. I want to be up there, and I'm a driven person in that respect, and stubborn. I don't want to lose. I couldn't be happy going, oh well, I gave it a go. If I went in and said, yeah, I gave it a go, but I gave everything and I still came last, then fair enough. But I'm not in it just to be in it. Yeah,
and again, I think that's going back to that whole kind of that inbuilt nature. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to have that hunger, and I think it's something that is seen among world record holders around the globe. It doesn't matter where they come from. It's that, I hate to say it, but it's like it's never enough. It's I think it's both a blessing and a curse. Like, because I also feel that as well. Like, no matter what I've done, like I've always wanted to be the best at it. So when I compete now, and I'm nowhere close to where you guys are, but in every competition that I've done, it's the whole thing of I'm either gonna fucking die doing this, or I'm gonna win, or if I get both, then it is what it is. But I just couldn't think of anything worse than coming in second. And I say it out loud, and it sounds disgusting, and I hate myself for it. But then also, like, as soon as that first event happens, man, it's like I'm a different person. It's like someone's possessed my body, and it's like I don't care about anything else anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. The last thing I should have been thinking when I put that bar down at 550 is I can go more. That's the last thing but it was the first thing that came to me. I was like, good thought. Like every event that maybe I've messed up on or missed a rep, and I've gone, could have done more than that. And it is that drive. It comes with, people have either got it or they haven't. And like you say, it's the guys that are breaking the records and stuff are the ones that have got that drive.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's very, very aspirational for a lot of people to see the hunger and drive and the passion and motivation that you have, and I think that there are a lot of people that would pay to have that shit bottled up so that they can take some. But I don't think a lot of people are made the same way that you are. Do you know what I mean? I think that's quite evident. Otherwise, we'd probably see a few more people a little bit closer to that fucking 550. But hey ho, maybe they'll come out of the woodwork soon. We don't know. We're talking about the guy in Germany. So it's interesting. Obviously, you've grown in terms of your influence across social media, especially with the growth of your feats of strength, and your social media presence is ever growing now, and more people are hearing about the crazy shit that you're doing, and are kind of getting in touch. Now, obviously, you tick a lot of boxes for a lot of different people in terms of like what you've done, where you've come from, your background, your military service, everything that you've suffered through with your PTSD, with what you're doing with your life and pushing things forward. And I think that's really amazing. But again, I don't think, there's nothing really ever in life that will prepare you for being in the position that you're in now, and having, the capability to have fucking hundreds of people at a moment's notice just pick up their phone and be like, hey man, really struggling with this, like you're so incredible, like, and you just being bombarded with this shit on a daily basis. Like, that's that's tough for people. People don't understand that sort of things, that obviously, like, when you have all these eyes watching you and people depend upon you as well, it probably gets quite overwhelming for you as well. So how have you found, like, your growth, if you will, as a person, as your social media influence has kind of grown as well?
Yeah, so probably so before strongman, when I was doing the Invictus games, you know, mentally, when I started that process, I wasn't in a very good place mentally. I was struggling quite a bit. I had a lot of social anxiety. Didn't like going into big groups and stuff. And well, I finally got into Invictus, and that was slightly easier because it's a military family again, so it's something familiar to me that I already knew. But yeah, moving across to strongman was one of my fears. Is, you know, we're going to be in competitions and there's going to be thousands of people there. And you know what, the first couple of comps I went to where you know, I was flapping quite a bit and it was quite rough. But I think talking to people and you know, like, everyone's so nice to you. You know, everyone there, you know, they want to say hello, they want to ask you about your story and stuff like that. So that helps out. And yeah, so the whole process has actually made me come out of my shell a lot more. And then, yeah, social media was something that you kind of need as a sportsman these days, you know, for your sponsors and stuff. They, you know, they don't really care who you are. They want to know how many followers you got.
Yeah, which is fucking sad in its own right. But yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's, you know, they want to target the biggest audience. I get that. But yeah, then I started getting inundated with you know, like, guys, you know, quite a lot of disabled guys saying, you know, well, I've been watching your videos and because of you, I've took myself back to the gym. And yeah, it is a crazy feeling to think that I've actually helped someone get off their arse and do something. And I've always said in all of my videos, you know, like, if you do one thing, make sure it's sport, because it'll make you feel better. You know, it doesn't matter if it's playing tiddlywinks or doing strongman. You know, you are going to feel better at the end of it, no matter what. And yeah, you know, I've always said the power of sport, and that really has helped me out with my mental state and where I was at the time, and to where I am now. So it's nice to get these messages. You know, like, it still feels a bit weird saying, like, people saying, "Oh, you're my inspiration," and that, because I don't feel like it. Yeah. I'm like a bloke doing what I like doing. You know, yeah. And I'm like, you know, thanks very much for the message, but, you know, I'm just doing what I love doing, and that's it. So it's really nice to get those messages, but it's still quite strange at the same time.
Yeah, completely surreal. And again, it's one of those things, especially when, like, you've not necessarily ever, like, met this person, like you don't have that material connection with them that you're like, oh yeah, like, I remember you from this expo or whatever. Just, it's a face on a screen that's just saying all this sort of stuff, and it's like, it is very, very overwhelming, because you're like, oh, I don't even fucking know this person, and for them, I'm like a pivotal point in their life, and I've helped change them around, and I haven't done anything apart from just be me. Like, that's a strange feeling, but I think it's infectious, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I think people that are passionate about whatever the fuck it is that they do, it doesn't matter if it's hunting or fucking making candles or lifting weights or doing whatever. When people see that those people have that passion, like, it's evident you do, with the hunger that you have, like, I think that just becomes infectious, and you want to be a part of that, and you want to follow the story, and you want to see the journey, and you want to see them adapt and evolve. And I think that's been quite prevalent in everything that you've done. And again, I think it's great because you're also on that side of things where you're like, hey guys, like, here's the fucking table, I'm laying it out for you, like, this is exactly how it is, this is how I'm feeling, this is the shit that's going on, like. And a lot of people from the actual social influencer side of things, which I fucking hate, you don't get that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't get that genuine connection. And when people get that, you're like, this is a real motherfucker. I want to buy into this guy. And I think that you can see that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. yeah, like even people I follow, that I don't know, is I'm following them because they've got an interesting story or an interesting background or driven, in whatever they're doing. So I do see where you're coming from with that. And yeah, I've just been, I feel very blessed that although I haven't been in the sport for a long time, I've now got quite a big fan base. I've got people that I'll go to the service station and they'll be like, "That's Tye, dude, that's Tye," and they'll come over and get a picture with me. I was chatting, I was doing my mobile phone renewal the other day, and it was like, "Are you the Martin Tye from YouTube?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. There's probably more." I was like, "Yeah, that's me, mate." So yeah, it is kind of cool.
Yeah. I can imagine that. Again, it's that shock to reality that probably when you first started this, like as hungry as you were for it, I don't think a lot of people ever expect this side of things. You know what I mean? Like, and especially you seem like the kind of guy, and obviously don't let me speak for you here, but you didn't come into this sport for like the fame or the money or the attention. You came into like because you fucking you liked it and you just wanted to do more of it, right?
Yeah. So certainly not the money or the fame.
Yeah, like, because guess what? There wasn't any there.
Yeah.
There was nothing. So you kind of come from that. But again, I think that adds another like fucking string onto that humble bow that you've got, because it's like, this is all you've learned. This is all you've known. Like, just carrying that forward, that I think, it especially when that growth is there and people get that attention, they get that fame, and it's like they get that first little like shot into the veins of like, oh my God, look at this attention. Like, bro, it does change people. 100% it does. And I think it's nice to see like people like yourself who have remained so humble through it all, because that's just you as a human being. And again, I think you can that comes across in a lot of the shit that you do. There's a lot of fake people out there, unfortunately, man. There's a lot of fake people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there is, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. So I think it's very, very interesting moving forward for you. Obviously, with everything that you've got going on now, the fact that everything's changed around in terms of you're doing your bits and pieces from home now. We're seeing more and more with the the World Ultimate Strongman feats of strength bits and pieces. Anything you feel like is in the pipelines there, where you now have this capability to be able to start doing more bits and pieces from home? Do you think we're gonna be able to get a featurette into that big space, that big broadcasting service?
I don't know yet, to be honest. The fact that we compete at the Arnold's every year is a testament to Dion, head of Strongman Corporation. She's the one that gives us the floor time and the space to do it. And I've always said, I can't speak for the whole sport, but me personally would like to see us doing more events alongside the able-bodied. It wouldn't take any more time. In between their events, we could be doing ours. So if anything, the fans are getting, twice as much for their buck. I would really love to see us come together more and do stuff like that. If it's going to happen or not, there's a lot of politics and stuff involved within sports. I personally would love to see it. I'm in talks with Eddie at the moment, hoping to get a comp at the Arnold's England next year.
Yeah, fantastic.
So we're going to try and sort something out that way as well. But yeah, I would absolutely love to see the able-bodied and the disabled come together and do it as one.
Yeah.
Rather than have able-bodied disabled women, we should all be in the same competition, not against each other, but the men should still be against the men and the women against the women. But we could all be doing it under one roof together, and I think it would make it, a lot better.
Yeah, and again, I think it's people need to also remember that it's an entertainment at the end of the day. As much as it's sport, it is an entertainment, and as if you've ever had the pleasure of going to one of these larger arena shows, like a Giants live show or what have you. It's a fucking spectacle. It's really, really cool. It's the stage show. It's the atmosphere. Everything is there, and I think that idea is very, very cool. It's like you're uniting everyone under one banner. You're showing the world from every reach what strongman is about, what you can do, and you're just there to put on a fucking cool show, lift some crazy ass stuff off the floor and put it back down again, and just wow everyone. Do you know what I mean? I think that's a very cool idea.
Yeah, and I'd love to see the guys that filmed it, Ultimate Strongman, isn't they?
Yeah.
World Ultimate Strongman.
Yeah, they're the Dubai-based company, aren't they?
So yeah, I'd like to see them get involved in the disabled side as well and do some. The only issues we have in the disabled side is some of our records wouldn't look that impressive to people. Some of our classifications, so I'm not against every disabled athlete. I'm in my own classification.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 or 4, even 5 different classifications in the sport. So some of the more severe disabled people, their records would be weights which people back home would be like, oh, I can lift that. Then they wouldn't understand, yeah, you could lift that, but this person's really quite disabled and you're still lifting it. So it's a big feat, but the public wouldn't understand that bit.
Yeah, I get that to an extent, but I also think it's the case of like, especially I think when you can see it more visibly, when it's something more prevalent. I don't think people necessarily will kind of swat it away that much. Like I think there will definitely still be that respect there. And especially, when you see people like yourself that are doing these crazy things that, maybe, in terms of the weights that you're pushing, you are actually pushing above and beyond the able-bodied guys. That, I think it's difficult because, like, that is such a high pedestal. It's that then everything else compared to that obviously is going to be a little bit tough. But I think people definitely would understand that, like, oh shit, this is still impressive for what it is. And I think especially in that competitive environment, like if it's just one person going out and doing a feat of strength, yeah, cool. But if you kind of said, like you said before, it's like if you're running this live competition, it's not like, unless you go to a competition, you're like, oh wow, he picked up that thing that looks really heavy and he moved it in 10 seconds, and then someone comes along and does it in 6. You're like, oh shit, that guy's really strong compared to that one picking up that heavy implement. Because most people don't know what fucking 300 kilos feels like. Most people will never pick up 150 kilos in their fucking life, let alone put it on their back or run with it or bench press it or pull it off of the floor. Like, loads of people don't have that. But when people can see it in a competitive environment where it's like, oh shit, man picked that up 30 times and that guy did it 4 times. That's insane. So I think there's definitely a give and take there.
Yeah, and I think with if we could educate them right as well, then they would understand a lot more. And that's no fault of the public that they're not educated. Because why would they? To an extent, there are some fucking morons out there. Let's be honest. You're not going to know the ins and outs of everyone's disabilities and how it affects them. So that's where the educational side has to come in a little bit. But I think we could put on a fantastic show with the able-bodied guys, and what the able-bodied guys don't have so much. What we have is we have backstories. We're here for a reason because something. We're disabled for a reason because something's happened, and I think that's a lot more appealing sometimes as well for the crowds to know a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah. Well, so people buy into people, do you know what I mean?
Who's did this, and then now he's doing this. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly, and it gives them that point of reference as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, people then you kind of don't have a choice but to connect with that person because you can't listen to these stories and not be emotionally involved in it, because it's like, okay, now I need to see what this person can do. Now I need to see this part of their journey, like how far they've come from where they were. And I think that's 100% a great point to make. And I think now, especially going back and talking about it, obviously not necessarily loads and loads of people will know, but Eddie Hall has now signed an agreement with the Arnold Classic to bring the Arnold Classic here to the UK, which is very, 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 very exciting indeed. So the first show it's around like November time next year, is it not?
Yes, it is,
Cool. Yeah. Because I remember
exactly, but
I remember speaking to Rob Frampton about this before. Yeah. So it's obviously going to be helpful for a lot of athletes over here who now don't necessarily have to travel quite so goddamn far to compete in an
Yeah.
Arnold competition.
Well, we'll still be going over to see Arnold's in March if it goes ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Fingers crossed.
In the States, but obviously then at the end of the year, then we'll have, you know, the Arnold's back in the UK, which will be an amazing to be a part of it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as someone, you know, I think you've been to quite a few different shows and bits and pieces yourself. Now, I know you've competed at pretty much fucking everything that there is under the sun at this stage. Looking back over your list, you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, he's got him. So, but I think it's you can kind of talk about this, especially people that I've known on the scene. I was coached by Rob Frampton, who's obviously a legend in the strongman sport, and especially at grassroots level, and helping athletes come up through everything. Seeing the love that the UK crowds have for strongman compared to anywhere else in the world is phenomenal. Like I know, like compared to the Arnold's, like I think Arnold's is like a different story in and of itself just because of the way that it's set up, but the shows over here are something else, right? So the Arnold's in November is a very exciting concept.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I've always said, you know, the crowd in the UK really get behind you, and you know, they put a lot of emotion into it themselves. Whereas you'll go to some countries and it'll be like blank faces. Like, you go to, like, I don't know, one of the Scandinavian countries, and they just don't show emotion. They're just like, like, have I done something wrong? Have I not impressed or something?
Would you like me to pick it up again?
So yeah, it is always special, you know, doing a competition back in your own country, especially in England. So yeah, that will be an awesome event when it happens.
Yeah, and I think hopefully as well with the fact that, you know, Eddie's got kind of a finger in this one as well. Yeah. It's going to be nice to see, obviously, him coming from his background, interacting with fantastic athletes like yourself, the political sway that he will hopefully be able to have about some of these things that we feel as athletes that should be highlighted a little bit more. So I think that's very, very interesting, obviously, in the sense, you know, kind of what you're saying there, moving things forward and kind of getting you guys a kind of a bigger seat at the table, I think it's growing ever closer. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think this now doesn't seem like something that's like an impossible journey like it maybe was 10 years ago. I think now with the traction that we've got, do you know what I mean? Like, I think you guys are pretty close to breaking that barrier.
We are getting there. There's still not a lot of money in the disabled side of the sport. A lot of it's still self-funded.
Yeah.
Or you take private sponsors on, which, well, that's hard enough as it is.
Yeah, boy.
Trying to find them through lockdown as well is absolutely crazy. You know, a nutrition company, they went bust because of lockdown. So, and I was like, oh, what do I do? And no one wants to sponsor you in the middle of the lockdown where nobody's doing anything. But yeah, we've got some pretty major sponsors in for the sport now. So we are getting there. We're having some other events where we've only had to pay for flights and they've paid for the hotel, the food, everything like that, which is pretty cool. So it's definitely moving in the right direction. But yeah, every time I go to an event or anything like that where the able-bodied are there, I always go around, say hello to them all, just get my face in front of them, get my face in front of the Strongman Corporation guys, everyone, just to say, you know, we're here, this is what we're doing, just to get a little bit more exposure. And I think the more exposure we can push, then we will get up there on that plateau.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a all for one kind of mentality. Do you know what I mean? Like it is for the greater good of the sport. Like I love that. I think I think that's really, really commendable, because I think, you know, no matter what sport you're in, and again, I think strength sports in themselves, considering the kind of like alpha mentality that it kind of demands, there is such a higher ratio of like super humble guys that have like no egos whatsoever compared to, like, you know, lots of these other sports where it's just fucking egotistical maniacs running about the place. But I think then coming across into your side of things as well, you know, it's almost eradicated. Like, the humbleness has been kind of hammered into you through what you've had to go through. I think, I mean, you could probably talk on that, and obviously don't let me speak for you, but obviously when you have to go through that trauma, that probably really gives you a big fucking slap across the face for you to kind of take a step back into yourself, to then when you're in this environment where, that there is like this potential for egos and whatever, you're like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
There's no need for this.
It is crazy. And so some of the guys won't know that I got blown up by a suicide bomber in Afghanistan. And really what happening to me has made me such a better person than I was before. And I don't think I was an arsehole before. But it really has opened my eyes to a lot of things and made me see them clearly. You can spend your life as an arsehole, but then you're always going to be known as an arsehole, and no one's going to want to talk to you or work with you or do anything with you. So just be polite, nice, courteous, and everything else will fall into place. There's no point in being a dick. There really isn't, because it doesn't get you anywhere. I know you see some of the able-bodied guys doing it on camera a bit, but I'm telling you, it's for the camera, because they are nice guys. They are down-to-earth, nice guys. And yeah, there's just, I don't think there's a spot for arses in certainly not in the disabled side of the sport.
Yeah, 100%. You can definitely see that. You can definitely see that. Now it's interesting you kind of wrapped up like that as well, because I love to end the podcast in the same way with everyone, and I want you for a second to imagine, and I think this can be quite interesting from your side of things. You imagine you're taking a step into a time machine. You're going back in time, and you're getting to visit your younger self, so maybe 10, 11, 12 years of age. You've got your whole life to go through, everything that's happened to you up until now. You know all about it, and you get to share a few moments with your younger self. Give them a mantra to live by, some wisdom, some knowledge, some information that's going to help them get through, not necessarily physically everything that's going to be thrown at you, but like mentally prepare you for everything to come. How are you going to help yourself get from where they were now to the man that you have become now, with your views and opinions and your strength?
Oh, could have asked me a bloody easy question. That's a tough one. I'd probably go back to when I was a teenager. To be honest, I was a bit of an arse. I wasn't a very nice person as a teenager, which I'm sure lots of people are not as teenagers. But I did things I'm not proud of, and I think I'd go back to that stage and say, just wise up a bit and get your head screwed on. The easy answer to the question would have been before I got blown up, but yeah. I wouldn't change the fact that I got blown up. I am the person I am today because of that. So I get asked a lot of time, if you could go back, would you change it? I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. I am who I am now because of what's happened to me in my past. So yeah, it would have to be when I was a teenager and being an arse.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I was really, really, really fascinated to kind of hear what you were gonna kind of approach with this, because I think, like you said, there is that kind of that easy option to kind of go back and not do it the way that it has been done. But I know people hate this saying, in the sense of everything happens for a reason, and there is a whole load of shit out there that is dreadful and it feels completely inexplainable and unfair. But I think you have gone to prove, and what you've just said there, you are who you are today. You kind of been forced down that path, your hand has kind of been swayed in that way, but the fact that you don't regret that and you embrace that and you understand that maybe you kind of, to an extent, had to go through that journey to break off the shackles of that kind of all that shit you used to think was important that really isn't, and now you understand in and of yourself what truly life is about, and what makes you truly happy, and what brings you true joy and love, and in whatever that is, whether it's weightlifting or being with your partner or your kids or whoever it is. And I think it's very, very interesting that you've come from that position.
Yeah, you know, it would have been the easy choice to say go back and not get blown up, but you know, I've always said that since being blown up, I have had more opportunities to do things than I've ever had in my life. And that's not because I'm disabled. It's probably because I'm less of an arse, to be honest. So people actually want to give me the opportunity and stuff to do things. Yeah. You know, I really have. I've been very fortunate. I've been very fortunate, you know, to survive what I survived. I shouldn't have. You know, the doctors gave me 10% chance of coming out of my coma. You know, I really shouldn't have been here. You know, I still struggle with a lot of problems now from it all, but I did survive, and because I survived, I've now thrived. And yeah, you know, I love life. I love what I'm doing. I get to spend more time with my family, more time doing strongman. It's all good.
Yeah, man. 100%. You've made something quite incredible out of something that cripples and destroys a lot of people, and I think that there is almost a power in that in and of itself to kind of, that is a testament to you and your mental strength and your attitude and kind of how you've kind of come about this. I think it is fucking amazing, and you know what, I sit here and for a second I don't doubt that there's going to be a 600 in there. I don't doubt that there's still some freaky crazy things that you're going to be doing in the next couple of years, man. And I'm really excited to see not just how you can push your own boundaries, but again how you as an individual can also help to grow the disabled strongman scene and continue to do amazing things and inspire more people. And yeah, man, well, we're all 100% behind you, dude. It's very, very exciting times.
Cheers, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, brother.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me.